Very good all around. A lot of visitors. Got a lot of press coverage.
Hey, Darla, how are you? No, they're all good. Those are live. I just wanted you guys to see. How are you, sir?
Good. How are y'all?
I'm doing great.
Now you show up.
Good evening. Good.
I just wanted you to see these. I've got 3 of those this time.
No, Deborah she had it made last year, and I think it's the first time I've actually worn it. I guess it replaces my name tag.
Unfortunately, that's what you're supposed to
I'm going.
Jerry?
Well, I've inspected that personally, yes. Absolutely. Okay, I think I broke your pen. I think they could just get one signature and send it to all of them, don't you? Gee whiz.
This is it's just history on it. I think those are all
Did you take those? Oh, he's got some.
I just want to make them aware.
Thank you.
That's
You said there were 4 or 3? Or just 3?
I'm going to do that. Talk about
I lost my cup.
Thank you very, very much. How did you know I was out all day? I only got 2 pages. I only got 2 pages. Yeah, I have utility fund and general fund, not the airport fund. I've got utility. Me too.
No, 30.
Okay, do you need an airport or general fund? You need an airport and...
I do too, yes please.
Okay, let me go get some more because...
Just holler me to find it.
I'll throw this as highlighter.
Utility and general.
Okay, you need airport?
It's never been used before, right? Yeah, general fund and utility. Yeah, same here. Oh, okay. Right.
How are you? You got all kinds of stuff.
There?
Mr. King, how are you, sir?
Probably don't need it all.
Right, same here. Yes, we're good.
What's that? Really? What is, that's a cover for it? Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
I have not studied this stuff in a long, long time.
I got you that.
Well, that's pretty cool. You know,
I just changed it.
it's been
You gotta stop doing it.
that's been close to 40 years since I did something like that. So, you know, I just don't use it. I do physics and calculus. I just don't use it every day. So, yeah.
You know, I was going to work on it.
Did you remind me? I'll work on that shit. I just got to be reminded.
So, before we start the meeting, y'all had colored coordination.
You better ask yourself all the right questions at the time, because they will find you.
Thought you had some fish pictures here or something.
Those little mines, when they love something, they'll use it.
Somebody else is going. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Where are you teaching?
Do you think we could get new chairs?
No, I thought just water. Yeah,
Well, that's encouraging. I'd love to see small towns
Is
produce.
that the LCC coming up?
Yes, sir. It sure is. Yeah, it sure is.
Well, my sister taught school and coached, I should say, taught and coached for 25 years. She was in life in Medina Valley the whole time. And my dad taught for 38 years.
I guess we got to talk before the meeting. Sure.
It's a good excuse you want to go for something.
Sure, you ain't gonna do it. We ain't gonna do it twice in a month. We did.
Yeah, you're the coach.
One more minute. We're going to call to order the June 26, 2018 regular called City Council meeting at 6 p.m. Let the record reflect that Councilman Sandlaven is not here. Would y'all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor and protect this flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Pastor Knippa, invocation, please.
Before I offer the invocation, on behalf of the Medina County Amateur Radio Club, I want to thank the mayor and the council for the support and allowing us to come back into a public place here in Castroville, and it was awesome too, and it was just a big success. So with that, let's bow our heads and fold our hands and let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening, and we just take this meeting to you this evening, Lord. We just pray that you would be in the hearts of the minds of all here, and especially our council and our mayor, as we make the decisions for this wonderful community. Lord, let those decisions be, first of all, God-pleasing and for the benefit of all the citizens of this great community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Okay, moving on to item number 5, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any changes? If not, could I have a motion to accept?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Moving on to item number 6, the citizens' comments. Is there anyone that would wish to speak before council this evening? Besides Mr. Lee.
We've missed him lately. Yeah. Okay, Hack. Yeah, my name's Bob Lee, 1314 Gentiles. A couple of things on your budget. Again, make a plea to buy a tractor with a very large batwing shredder to do the highways and the large pieces of grass we have out there. We're using zero-turn mowers. They only take grass about yay big. A batwing shredder will take grass as tall as me. You don't have to cut as often. You don't have to spend so much money on maintenance. If you hit bottles or cans, pieces of wood, metal, bad news on a zero-turn mower, but a big tractor can handle that easily. And so you really need to look about the practicality of cutting down your maintenance cost and your personnel time and get a large tractor to handle those kind of cutting jobs. That's what highway departments use. Also, SCADA systems on your agenda tonight. Of course, I read that, and I'm going, something doesn't seem quite right. About 7 years ago, we started a three-phase project. Larry's probably going to talk about it. He was here for the last portion, to spend about $100,000 to $150,000 to redo the whole SCADA system. And at the time, they were talking about putting sensors and some on-off capability throughout the city, every piece and part. I understand some of that didn't get handled, but there's a lot of history out there and a lot of things that if it doesn't show up in your package, I'll probably send you an email and say, hey, here's something you might want to check into. But on the dam, you got a bunch of hackberries and chinaberry trees. A lot of those have very, very shallow roots, probably be taken out without much of a trouble. Years ago, the engineers told us you need to take care of these little trees before they become big trees, and they create washout issues in case you get water over the top, which has happened a number of times, or too much pressure in the ponds, usually because of too much rain. So before you spend $80 bajillion, make sure that the trees that they want to remove don't have anything but shallow roots instead of deep ones. I see that utility rates were on the discussion last time. Again, I urge you to take action as soon as you can to make at least some increase. Nationally, they're looking at probably 3 to 4.5% increase in cost of living this year. And so every month we delay making some incremental increase in our rates to cover our increased costs, we just get further behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Anyone else wish to speak before citizens' comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Tina Arnold, and I live at 816 Alsace Drive, lot number 9. And I'm here because I feel like my husband and I were discriminated against by your park host. I believe in any other city or corporation, this man would have been fired for his actions. I've held my peace for over 2 years that I've lived there. Many different things that have gone on. But after this last incident, I have decided I had to come forward. I can't do it any longer. The very first time that we met JR, we moved here from Ohio, the very first thing that he said to my husband was, I had no idea you were black. Continuing carrying on conversation with him, we asked about the policy of staying in the park for longer than 6 months because I was going to be employed through the school district and wanted to know what my options were. He said, you can stay longer than 6 months as long as you don't beat her and have the cops here. We decided to go ahead and stay, but the 1.5 years was a very long 1.5 years. This May, we decided to go back into the park. When meeting with him, my husband went to talk to him alone. And he said to my husband, are you still married to her? Because you know I don't like her. She went over my head to City Hall. And at that time, I had not. Out of fear of retaliation, I was too afraid to come forward. He continued to talk to my husband about the availability and showed him different spots. He picked out a spot. The very next morning, we took him a money order. He declined the money order. He said, we've been through this before. You know I only accept cash. Why are you doing this? We've done this before. So we tried to get our money back from our bank or from Walmart where we originally got the money order with no success. We called JR and asked him if we could just do the money order this time. We'll give him cash in the future. He didn't return our call. We then came to City Hall and we met with Maria and Jerry originally and discussed to them our situation with this $325 money order that was rejected. They were quite puzzled as well and cashed our money order, gave us a receipt, and told us to go give that to the park host. When we did, he denied it. He said, you need to take that right back to City Hall. They had no right to override me, and all of my spots are now reserved. When we were walking through the park, we saw that he had marked each and every pole with names and reserved, which had never been something that we had seen done there before. And then after talking to some other people in the park, we had found out that he had accepted money orders from other people in the park. And so it was quite upsetting that ours wasn't. So then, after him not receiving our money order, or the receipt, we met back at City Hall again. And it took, Jerry, sorry to call you out, but she contacted him, and I'm not sure what was said between them, but later that day she contacted me and said, move into your spot. So we did. That evening, after we moved in, every single reserve sign came down. And no one moved in those spots until the Memorial Day weekend, which was approximately 2 weeks later. I guess I'm just going to wrap this up by saying that I feel like we're just very frustrated. I've talked to several people that live back there that's been faced with discrimination and comments and threats and retaliation, and I think that it needs to be looked at, and I think that somebody needs to come forward and stand up for the people that's in the community. And it's a great park. We love it there. That's why we decided to come back, even though there were so many negative things from the host. There was more positive than there was negative. I just feel that we're frustrated and clearly discriminated against, and I've heard so many people say that. And why do any of us have to continue to be bullied and threatened and discriminated? And where do we go to for help? I come to you asking you guys for help to truly listen to our concerns, because his behavior is totally unacceptable. He uses his title to bully, threaten, and discriminate.
Ma'am, you're going to have to wind it up. You're allowed 3 minutes, and I'll let you run over, but you're going to have to go ahead and close it up.
Okay, I'm almost finished, thank you. I can't understand why the city would tolerate his behavior and allow him to represent the beautiful park that many of us call home. I honestly feel that me coming forward, there's going to be retaliation. And I'm scared for that, for my future, but I'm willing to try to help everyone see that things that's going on at that park and that it needs to be taken care of.
Anyone else wish to speak before citizens' comments?
Arnie DeLossi, 109 River Bluff. I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday is the majority of the July 4th activities, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning with fun runs and going on through until everything would wrap up about 10 o'clock with fireworks. So in between there's water parks, there's food vendors, there's all kinds of games and for different bands. And so we just hope all of you spread the word and show up out there. So thanks, and hope to see you Saturday.
Thank you, Arnie. Anyone else wish to speak for citizens' comments?
My name's Dave Letzko. I also live in Castroville Park, and right after our City Hall meeting, the time before this other one, as soon as I got back to my bus, JR approached me and told me I had to be out by July the 8th, and then he gave me a summons where he was suing me for fixing his truck. I also fixed the city gator thing that was there, and I only charged him $425 to do his truck, and he sued me for $1,650. And I have pictures where he went on the internet yesterday and he's selling his truck, and it has brand new paint on it, and that was one of the things that he said was wrong with his truck that I did. That's why he was suing me. So this isn't the first time I've had a little bit of problems with him. So, you know, I did his golf cart. That was perfect. When I finished the job, there were several people there that said, I asked him if he needed anything else done to that truck. He says, nope, it's perfect. I like it the way it is. And then right after the City Hall meeting, the next morning, he says, you have to leave on July 8th. I says, why? He says, well, you've been here over 6 months. But there's several other people that's been there way over that. And I have to go to court even though I'm going to be leaving, I'm going to have to come back here to go to court because of this. And it doesn't make sense to me. And I have copies of all the things that the constables delivered to me, and I have a thing from a paint body shop that he went to take it to. He said I messed up his toolbox, his headache rack. I never even touched that. All I did was the hood and the fender and the back quarter panel and stuff like that. And I also did it in the city halls. He gave me the city's building in the back of the park. He gave me permission to work there, and I found out I shouldn't even done that there or been working in the park. So, you know, I just wanted to explain to you that, you know, he's not a very honest man. You know, because like I said, I only did it for $425 as a favor more than anything. I had a paint body shop for 15 years, and this is the first complaint I've ever had, ever. You know, so I just want to let you know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak? Citizens' comments?
Hello, my name is Kim Lesko. I live at Castroville Regional Park, Lot 13 also. I'm here today because everything that's going on in the park has literally made me ill. I'm back on medication because your park ranger host has nothing but threatened us, kicked us out if my husband didn't do what he wanted. I left for over a month because I couldn't take it anymore. The day I got back, in fact, the night I got back, the side of my car was shot out. Now, next to us is a brand new Camaro, a Mustang, and no one else got touched except my side of the car. But that's okay, right? This all happened because I told my husband, you're not giving that man cash anymore. You give him money order. He told me that the city refuses to take money order because they're fraudulent. I said, Dave, that's ridiculous. I've been paying my bills for the last 6, 7 years with money orders, but no problem. So I went to City Hall because I was upset. I was beyond upset. And I talked to the two ladies that were in the front. And she says, yes, we take money orders. I said, then why isn't JR taking my money order? So when he told me to give it to Larry, I think it was. I paid them. When I got back, JR already told us we had to leave. No time, but right then, because we had gone to City Hall to pay by money order. Another time, I was sitting with our friend. He has, from the war, PSD thing, and I heard him holler, and I ran out to help him, and the dog was attacking him and his 10-day-old baby. I grabbed the dog, I put the dog down. God's honest truth, JR stood there right by his truck. The owner of the dog stood there, and they would not get the dog. Now the baby's father, he is shaking. He has flashbacks. We called the police. He didn't want to make any statement other than we told the police officer what had happened. And before this, he was hassling us about our tags on our vehicles, that if we didn't get them up to date, he's kicking us out of the park. I asked the police officer. She told me that they have nothing to do with the park as far as the tags on our vehicles. Now, if we get caught on the road, then you know, we're grass if they catch us. But that's just some of the stuff that's been going on over there. I love the park. I can't take the hassle anymore. I'm on medication I haven't had to take for years. As it is, I'm holding on this pedestal because I'm about to pass out, so I can't quit being nervous and dizzy. I've never been like this, other than when this stuff started. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at citizens' comments?
Hello, I'm Rocky Herrera, and I also live in the park. And I also was told by JR that we cannot accept any money orders. I started giving him cash. We had a meeting on the 16th of May, and I had talked to Jerry, and she said, from now on, you can give him money orders. So I started giving money orders, and I tried to find out the policy on this 6 months. You got to leave, you got to stay. I got twin boys to think about. They're both going to elementary school here, so I really need to prepare. He did approach me last month and told me I got 4 months to leave. I emailed Jerry. I haven't gotten a reply from her. I guess she's been real busy. I left her a voicemail, and she hasn't returned my calls, but I'm hoping that she will, to let me know where I stand. Now, I remember JR telling me when I first asked him if I could move into the park, and I was sitting in the bench with my twin boys, and he told me this comment that I'll never forget: as long as you don't bring all your Mexican friends out here, you're fine. So I left it alone. I didn't want to, I needed a place to stay. So I brought my RV and I moved in. So I want to let you guys know that I don't want no trouble. I just need to think about my boys. Let me know where I stand, if I can stay there or not stay there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak as citizens' comments?
My name is Robert Ponce. I also live at the Park 816 Alsace. I'm in lot number 21. On May the 9th, Tina Arnold, who's already spoken, asked if I would come to City Hall with her. She wanted to address some of the issues that we were having with the your park host, which is J.R. Owsley. What happened is we come over to City Hall, and there were 4 of us here that day. It was myself, Dave Lutzko, Tina Arnold, and Eleazar Arroyo also. He's a resident also of Castroville. My comments are a little bit different because I was really amazed at what we learned at this meeting that we had. I mean, we had some wonderful help with some of the managers there, but a statement was asked by Dave while we were waiting for, I believe it was Jerry had gone out to get maybe Larry. Dave asked Marie, who's the manager at the time, she said, I don't understand why you guys don't put any money into the park. You guys make so much money. To which she told us, she said, we don't make any money. I asked her, can you share with us how much money you do make? And she said, sure. She goes to her computer, she sits on her computer, she pulls up the screen, and she told us, and there's 4 of us there that witnessed this, she says, I cannot tell you for certain by month, because I asked her how much do you make a month. She said, but I can tell you over the last 7 months and 11 days, the city has brought in $36,000 and change from the park. That's $36,000. I asked her, is that gross or is that net? She says, no, that's total. I pulled out my phone, went to my calculator. I said, ma'am, you're wrong. You're about $4,000 to $5,000 short. Right now at the park, as it sits, with all of the trailers that are there right now at this park should be reporting twice the income. That's my opinion. Twice the income of what's being reported right now, at a minimum. There was an enormous amount going on at the park. Saturday, a kind gentleman, Herb Dyer, just wonderful with us. He really believes in the people of the city, and we really like him. I asked him to come on out. Herb Dyer came out with me. He also brought Lieutenant Jackson, one of the police officers. So we addressed a few little concerns at the park. And then Dave Lutzko was there. He came on by. I said, hey, Dave, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the police officer and we're going to take the council member, and we're going to count the trailers here at the park and let them know for certain who's been here for how long, because it all adds up to money. That day, we counted approximately 28 that had been there for at least a year. It's simple math. It's very simple math. 25 people at $300 is $7,500. That is a bare minimum number. It is my opinion that it's not a few $100s missing from the park. It's not a few $1,000s missing from the park. There are tens of thousands of dollars potentially missing from the park. The money that's being reported is not accurate. I count the trailers. I go, I take people with me. I ask, can I really be seeing this? Is this really true? Because the city is reporting, or it's being reported, that there's $5,100 a month. And $5,100 a month is in no way accurate. I'd be willing to take any one of you there to show, count the trailers and all. I'm asking that this be addressed. Either there's a horrible error in the accounting method, or potentially somebody might be misusing the money. Who it is, I don't know. But I believe the investigation is quite simple. There's a collection, there's a reporting. If there's 15 or 20 people in that area, then maybe we can go ahead and you know, say it's going to take some time. But if there isn't that many people, then please, I mean, it's pretty simple to do. It's a concern we have, and it's a concern I have. I love Castroville. I love the city. I've had a wonderful experience with Herb Dyer. I think he's a wonderful councilman. Jerry Hinojosa here, I just think she's wonderful. She's really listened to us. But we just needed to say that. I just needed to say I think it needs to be investigated and taken a serious look at. I'm really concerned about this. So Mr. Dyer knows how to get a hold of me. Anyone's willing to call me, I'll take you to the park. But thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at citizens' comments?
Good evening, Council and Mayor Kelly. My name is Elizabeth Sherhart, and I reside at 509 Washington Street here in Castroville. Harassment reported by a citizen or citizens to the city of Castroville of city employees harassing a citizen or citizens or retaliating against a citizen or citizens at or in any public city facility at or in any local business in Castroville is unacceptable. Reporting harassment to the city requires immediate and thorough action by the city, by city supervisors, by city human resource managers, by city administration, etc. To follow with completion sections 14.03 through 14.04 of the city's 3-page harassment prevention policy, chapter 14. To ensure citizens of Castroville a safe, harassment-free city without fearing to live and reside in Castroville, without fearing to go to work in Castroville, or attend any public facility in Castroville in fear. No citizen should suffer emotional distress, fear, nor harassment or retaliation against them by any city employee. For reporting, for example, ordinance violations that are allowed by city admin over city department inconsistently enforcing an ordinance on the books, or failing to enforce the ordinance at all without following all the steps in the ordinance, which would only allow for discrimination by the city among citizens. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak before citizens' comments? Okay, we're going to close citizens' comments at 6:26 p.m. Moving on to item number 7, presentation by Melanie Stone from UT Health Science Center on Healthy Children, Healthy Citizens, Castroville Elementary. Melanie?
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about our project in Castroville called Healthy Children, Healthy Citizens. My name is Melanie Stone, and I'm a proud Castroville resident. I also work at the UT Health Science Center in San Antonio, where I direct the Community Service Learning, or CSL, program at the Center for Medical Humanities and Ethics. So what does that mean? Basically, our CSL program gets our Health Science Center students connected to community organizations to do service projects that benefit the organization's clients. Our students represent the fields of dentistry, medicine, nursing, pharmacy, PA, and others, and we serve San Antonio and the surrounding communities, such as here in Castroville. So we believe that getting these talented future healthcare professionals, such as Cody and Mamie, who you'll meet in a minute, getting them out of the classroom and into communities strengthens both the community and the professional identities of these students. I'd like to introduce you to the project's faculty mentor, Dr. Laura Sisk.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to come present our project to you this evening. This project is very, very special to me. Not only do I love the Castroville community, the Castroville Elementary School is very special to me because my grandchildren attend there and my son is a teacher there. So when we had the opportunity to take part in this health promotion education, it had additional meaning for me. We've worked with some of the other campuses, Petranco Elementary, we've also worked with the middle school, but this particular project brought our health professions together. So as Ms. Stone mentioned, we are from the UT Health Science Center, and on that campus we house the medical school, the dental school, the nursing school. So the professions came together to teach the 4th grade elementary students at Castroville Elementary about health promotion, education, and health literacy. We have 2 very talented students who led this project. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our lead students. We have Ms. Margaret Ashew, who's our lead nursing student on the project, and Mr. Cody Carnes, who's our lead medical student on the project. So they're going to tell you a little bit more about the details. Thank you again for letting us speak with you today.
Yeah, and again, my name is Cody Carnes. Melanie just touched on the previous slide. Go ahead.
So first we started with a needs assessment, working with the community. We met with the elementary school and discussed what it is they would like from us as far as lessons for the children. Our target audience was the 4th grade at Castroville Elementary. The main 4 broad topics they came up with was hygiene in general, asthma management, health, heart health, and nutrition. Asthma being very prominent. We noticed a trend depending on what census data you were looking at, what year it was collected, and the numbers of the population at the time. About 17% of the 8,000 total people in the city of Castroville, the children in them, that 17% as the children have uncontrolled or undiagnosed asthma. And so we were working with the students, we worked with the school to kind of address that need. We put that in the needs assessment, and that's how we built the curriculum. And the other part of the needs assessment was the key informant interviews. Last summer and this summer, students from the nursing school got together and we went out into the community. I actually came here to City Hall just last week and sat down with anyone that I could find to just ask in general what the community looked like on a regular day, on a weekend day, what folks were up to, what the children were up to, what are the services provided, are they readily available, and anything like that. We put it together, we presented our ideas with our faculty and the elementary school, and we came up with a game plan on how we were going to work with the children.
So we really wanted to focus on both hand hygiene and health literacy. Hand hygiene because kids' hands are really dirty and it's a major contributor to childhood illness. And health literacy. Health literacy is defined as the degree to which an individual is able to obtain, process, and understand health information and being able to use that health information to make proper healthcare decisions. So this includes things such as understanding nutrition labels, reading prescription labels, and being able to look up reliable health information. So in the summer of 2017, we were able to partner with Ms. Shearhart's fourth grade class at Castroville Elementary, and this class consisted of students from Castroville Elementary, Potranco, and Lacoste, about 20 students. And we were able to pilot some of our lessons, including hand hygiene, cardiovascular health, nutrition, asthma, and the importance of physical activity. All of our lessons, we try to get them really memorable and try to just instill it in the kid's brain. So for example, our hand hygiene lesson, we have a lotion that glows in black light. So we would squirt it on their hands, and this would resemble the germs. So when they put their hands under black light, they can see their hands lighting up. So we tell them to go wash their hands, and they come back, and they put their hands under the black light, and you can see in the far picture some of the areas that they were missing. They're missing their fingernails, in between their fingers, their knuckles. We just really tried to make these lessons memorable.
So what our project looks like and how we're kind of managing our data is we're taking pictures of the children's artwork and the students working with them from your left to right. The first photo is we went through how the heart works and where the blood goes, and we had the children illustrate how that worked. In the middle, because we were here over the summer, their summer program was around July 4th. We brought healthy snacks and with cream cheese, graham crackers, strawberries, and blueberries, made American flags and then ate them. In the third picture, we were working with the children with straws and balloons, part of the asthma lesson. This is what it's like after you run in general with asthma, and you fill up a balloon. If you have a really good set of lungs, okay, so your friend has asthma, we put on a set of lungs and we tried to blow the balloons up, and it was difficult. So they could just kind of see what was going on. And then the far right photo, the particular blue and green on the bottom, that was a little gal drew what physical activity is to her, and she does live in a regional park, and so that is an illustration, and that was near and dear to her. We let her keep it. We took a picture of it, and it's going to go in our book. And so this is kind of how we're measuring our data, and we're going to compile everything to deliver to Castroville Elementary when we're done.
So throughout the fall, we were able to come back and teach these lessons to the entire fourth grade class of Castroville. In November, December, Karen Barton, one of our librarians at UT Health San Antonio, was gracious enough to come to the campus and share her expertise on health literacy. In particular, we did a computer-based lesson to judge the legitimacy of lessons. Of websites. And this, because information is just at our fingertips, the legitimacy of the information we are putting in our brains, that is such an important topic.
So for the future of this project, the leaders, as they are through this summer, Cody is still working with us, especially mentoring the new medical students, Blake and Samuel. I'm on it through the summer, but when I do graduate in August, there will be another nursing student that will take lead. The summer project that we just rolled out, we did work with the kids before they graduated. We did a sun health lesson. We do want to do a swim safety lesson, go in buddies, use a life jacket, that type of thing. The fall lessons, and part of the continuation of the project, because we rolled it out last summer, we also went in the fall and taught all of Castroville Elementary 4th grade. Then we came back in the spring and we did our sun health lessons. So we're going to continue these lessons and not reteach, but reevaluate to see just where they are and if they've remembered. And work again with the 4th graders. So 4th graders now are 5th graders, and we'll measure and continue to work with that target population. And then our outreach events. Not only do we want to work with the 4th graders of Castroville, but we also want to get with the parents. If the kids can see their parents are involved, it makes them want to get more involved. And in general, it's just better health, and it's kind of a preventative project. For me especially, I graduate in August. I will be on the 7th floor of the Methodist Children's Hospital working in their acute care unit, and every winter between 18 and 22 of our 24 beds are full with children 24 days to 17 that have asthma exacerbation, babies with RSV, and other upper respiratory infections. So this project is near and dear to me because as much as I love seeing the kids of Castroville Elementary, I do not want to see them in the hospital. So prevention is a big thing, and even though after I graduate I will still try to be part of the project or advise here and there, and I will continue to visit the community. It's just something that I thoroughly enjoy, and I appreciate the time that you've given me.
And I've actually been lucky enough to have grown up in Castroville, and I love this community. The community has invested so much in me, in my education. This project just means so much to me to be able to come back and work with the kids, because I used to be in their elementary school. So I'd like to thank you for your time. We just wanted to let you know what we're doing in Castroville Elementary. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation. Anybody else have anything?
So you're a medical student?
I am a medical student, yes, sir. I'm a third year, about to start third, yes, sir.
So you're about to start your residency and so on, so.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, and hope that you also can manage to stay connected with this project over the years. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, discussion and appropriate action on adopting an ordinance amending section 106 traffic and vehicles, article 5 parking, adding a new section 106 to 107E prohibiting parking motor vehicles on certain parts of Castroville Regional Park Road, authorizing placement of no parking signs, providing for cumulative conflicts, retailer penalty, severability, and penalty clauses, and providing for an effective date. Larry?
Mayor, Council, back in February of this year, you approved us having a no parking zone at the park, which was great, and we have put up the signs. But in talking with the chief, even though we have the new parking zone by the council and we have signs up, they cannot enforce the no parking zone unless we have this modification to the ordinance, which is why we're modifying it.
Okay, so it's just kind of a housekeeping.
That's correct. It's just a housekeeping so the police department can enforce the no parking area.
Anyone have anything on it? Could I have a motion to approve amending the Code of Ordinances by adding language in section 106?
I'll move we amend the chapter 106.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. Moving on to item number 9.
Right back.
Discussion on the TCEQ violation number 8 regarding failure to prevent tree growth at the wastewater plant effluent holding ponds, and direction to staff on preparing a request for qualifications to retain engineering services.
So I'm sorry this is not in your packet, but I had to wait for some phone calls to get some answers for some of my proposed suggestions.
Thank you.
I have been spending quite a bit of time Friday, yesterday, today, talking to several people, primarily Cody G, who is with Friesen Nichols, who is our engineer, and some of their engineering, I guess, planners, as you would say. I also had to call BMA for some questions because some of my suggestions that I'm going to ask was based on an answer that they had to give me. That was the last question that was answered. Anyway, what I did was I just wrote a quick little outline of what we're looking at with this violation. This violation has been discussed. It's violation number 8 of TCQ. And basically what it's telling us is that we have to remove the trees around the retention ponds and the dam within 20 feet. So when Larry and I went out there, I noticed that we can't just go and cut the trees down. But I had several questions that I had to ask the engineer because I did not walk down there to inspect it. Basically because it's too overgrown and there's snakes and everything else, so it wasn't really a safe environment for even our crew to go down there and assess this. So in talking with Cody on Friday, we had a 2-hour conversation, and some of my questions that I asked him were this. If TCQ is going to require us to cut all the trees within a 20-foot parameter of this retention pond and on our dams, those trees have root systems, and what I didn't know is whether or not it had drills. And so he sent me some information, and you've got pictures actually that Deborah provided you today of some of these drills, and you can see the root system. The first picture that you're looking at shows broken up concrete, and I'll discuss that, but that is a spillway. Now, these violations that we have from TCQ, when I talked to the past inspectors, they said they were recurring violations. And because they're recurring violations, that's why we got hit with the fees. So what I'm trying to do is reduce those fees or get those fees completely off the chart. Whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know, because we're going to have to talk to legal. But I've dealt with TCQ with many other cities, and I was able with the last city I was with to remove all of the fines on the wastewater side. That's what I'm going to try and do now, but the only way I can do it is if we go forward with correcting the problem, because what he told me was some of these things went back to 2012. So they're items that for some reason were just, I'm not going to say they were ignored, but no action was taken to correct these violations, so it really kind of made TCQ mad. So in order to do this, like I said, I had several questions. So the first one is, if TCQ, one of the first questions that I had was, okay, let's just bypass the pond and take it to the river, the effluent. Well, if we do that, and I personally do not want to go that route, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to be my recommendation. And the reason why is because that is a resource that the city of Castroville has. And we do not want to just throw away our resources. We can, and this is what I was waiting for, we can request from BMA, because if we take the water to the river, which we are allowed to do with a permit, should we want some developer that comes in and wants the water to reuse it, to either recycle it or whatever it is that they want us to do, we can't take it out of the river. We have to get special permits from TCQ. But on top of that, which is what I had to verify today, I know that from the dam and above, BMA will not let us let anyone have those rights to remove water from the river. What I didn't know is if it was below, because Castroville is below. So what I was told on the phone today by Bonnie is she said, currently at this moment, they would not let us. And she said, I doubt they'll even go there. So if we take the water to the river, and let's say in the future we have a big developer that wants to come in and wants that resource, we will not be able to get it back. So I do not want to just throw that away. So that leaves us the option now of A, what do we do with our ponds and our dams, or do we attempt to go ahead and run it another direction and recycle the water? You know, do we want to irrigate it? Do we want to leave it with the farmers? I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to look at. So we'll go over this real quick. So the first one, it will require, if we take it to the river and later on we want to use that water, it would require another surface right permit by TCQ. So to take it out again, should we need to, okay? So we can't just discharge into the river and then say we want to take it out without getting special permits from TCQ and also getting the authorization from PMA. We also have to negotiate and renegotiate the contracts. So with TCQ, with BMA, I don't know about the irrigation. I've only been here a week and a half, so I really haven't looked at any contracts with whoever it is that's getting our water right now. So those are conditions we're going to have to look at. We will have to also determine, because we don't recycle our water. We just go through the treatment. Chlorine is put in there, but we don't even dechlorinate. Smaller cities are not required to dechlorinate the water, but there are some developers that would want that water to be dechlorinated after it's been chlorinated so that they can reuse it, basically making it into drinking water. So in order to do that, they call it recycling, and that's going to be more costs, okay, to do that. So if we want to go that route, if council decides, hey, we do want to look at this option, then this is another thing you need to look at. So right now, all I'm asking for y'all to do is what directions and what kind of ideas does the council want to do in terms of our resource of having this water. So that's what it says here, the treat the H2O to become drinking water. We will, if anyone wants recycled water, we are not doing that right now. We also have to look at the cost for piping to discharge the river and the cost for pumping it out in the future if BMA says we can do that. Right now, they're not going to give us that authority to do it. And they will not approve surface water rights at this time. So that's the options that we have with taking it to the river. Now, if we're keeping it in our retention ponds the way it is right now, we have to remove the trees. TCEQ says we've got to do it. We can't just go in there and cut the trees down. My concern was it will affect the integrity of the dam and the ponds. Maybe not right away, because it will take a while for the root system to collapse, but it will affect it. So my suggestion to Jerry was that we go out for RFQs to see what suggestions that the engineers would have if we go this route. And TCEQ is requiring us to remove the trees. Any tree that's under 4 inches in diameter, we can remove basically without a problem. But once the tree dies, we cut it down and it dies, it has a root ball. That root ball would need to be removed. We would have to put soil in there and compact it down. But the problem is, in a rainstorm or flash flood, it's going to wash it out. So it's only going to be a temporary solution. So if it's trees that are larger than 4 inches in diameter, that's where the problem is going to lie. So we can't just go in there and do that. So what I have seen in the past, and this is kind of tricky, is that when you have a tree that is on an embankment or on a dam, you can actually cut all the limbs off of it and leave the trunk. Okay? Then what you're going to try to do is get the grasses and your vegetation to grow underneath to make a strong support system where once the tree dies away or the vegetation actually cools, it has a better chance of surviving versus putting the dirt in there, compacting it in, and then having it washed out in the last flood because we have vegetation that's holding it there. The problem is it will take a long time to do that. And then secondly, TCEQ is going to have to approve that, and they may not do it because it hasn't been addressed, it hasn't been done since 2012. So the chances of them saying, yeah, let's do that are going to be slim. They may, but I'm not dealing with the same gentleman that I dealt in the last city I was with for the wastewater treatment plant for TCEQ. And then of course we have a lot of rills, and we have a lot of problems with those rills. And you see in the picture there, some of them are quite deep, and I think some up to 6 feet, is that correct? Yeah. And so that has been over time. I mean, that's not even 10 years. We're talking 20 years, 30 years worth of time. And we can't just go in there and throw dirt in it and pack it down. That's not going to work. So I need to get engineers to come in and give us their recommendations to fix these things. They came in and filling in with the Priest and Nichols with the study that the Alderman come in and they took pictures of all the rails.
Well, that's why I asked them. We had the big flood, remember the big 500-year rain we got?
2015.
Top of the dam.
Top of ponds, we had lots of water go down. And my staff could even notice some reels where they were getting bigger. So I had Priest and Nichols. I called them and said, "Can you have somebody who knows about soils come in and tell me what's going on and what we need to do?" And basically, he says, agrees with what Lynn says, we need to remove the trees, but we need to put some kind of erosion supply system back in it so we can keep the erosion from trickling down.
Right, and the other thing too, once proceed with the work because they're going to have to drain the ponds. Which means the water is going to have to run to the river. We will not be able to recoup that, but we're going to have to get permission from TCEQ. We've already got the permit to take it to the river, but we're going to have to renegotiate that permit to bring it back to fill up our retention ponds again if that's the route we're going to go and not leave it in the river. So in order to do that, we have to take the ponds down, we have to drain the ponds, and we're going to have to put in new lining. That is going to be required according to the engineers, which only makes sense because that is part of the problem. They would have to re-dam the dam area. They'd have to reinforce it, build it up. I don't know how they're going to do that, but that is the reason for the RFQ, to give us, Larry and I, guidance as to what it's going to cost, and what is going to be cheaper. I mean, should we do and of course TCEQ is going to be involved, but I have to get something to TCEQ in 60 days. Because if I don't do something in 60 days, then those fees are not going to go away. I mean, right now it's critical. I mean, it's really, really urgent that we do this ASAP. So I am focusing all my time in these violations. And then the other thing too, the concrete, there's one more thing, that concrete spillway. That is not going to be just something, we have to go in and remove the concrete, and you'll see that in the first picture. Where that came from, I have no clue. How that got there, I have no clue. But that needs to be removed. And then we're going to have to set up, and I've got it right here, we have to do, we have to hire engineers, we have to build a new spillway, but in order to do that, they have to go through the engineering design, the design of the actual spillway, find locations, things like that, bring our ecologists and biologists and all that good stuff, have a look at that, and then lastly, the construction phase. So this is something that will have to be addressed in next budget year, because this is not something that TCEQ is going to say, hey, the spillway can wait. It can't wait. I mean, that's what our problem is right now. They have not addressed that right now in the violations. The spillway is not addressed. But it's a concern, and it will be, because again, they've told me on the phone, this is a concern, we have to take care of it. So we are going to have to put money in the budget for that spillway, one way or the other. And I haven't talked to Jerry, because this has all just been, like I said, just today, but we'll probably have to do a separate CIP fund, and then budget for those funds that way. So that's kind of the basics of where we need to go in order to remove the violation and what options we have. So if you have any questions, I'll entertain those now.
You want to do the presentation?
I'm sorry?
Is this the video you want to show?
Yeah, that's a video.
We have a video.
So you can see the vegetation of the ponds.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, the first one is the north pond. You can see all the trees growing around it.
And the other thing I may add too, we don't have the equipment or the personnel to go down there to be able to cut all those trees down. That's something we're going to have to contract out. And the engineers won't do that. They're just going to give us the design and give us the, basis as to what we need to do in order to get there. But it will be more in depth with other contractors to do this.
This is again on the north pond, but this is, what you're looking now is across the road, which is actually the dam that goes on that narrows down to the park. You can see all the tree growth. Sorry about you stopping.
Larry's feet. Mr. Mayor?
Okay, this is the south pond.
I'm sorry, you're done.
Same one?
Yeah.
Is this the same one?
No, you should, no, this is the west side of the road again.
And you see, this is not going to be a small project. This is a huge project, unfortunately. It's going to cost some bucks to do it. But TCEQ will not go away until we address it.
And who says we can't cut the trees down?
We can't because it will...
The engineer says we can't?
The engineers, yes. Because
Not TECQ?
Not TCQ. TCQ just wants us to cut it down. They don't care.
You got to notice on this is the south pond. To cut some of the trees down, the pond's going to have to get lowered somehow. We just can't get to the trees.
Right. But TCQ knows that we can't do that. They just haven't said anything. We have to present them a plan, which is what I'm trying to do, and that's why I'm going for the RFQs, because that way we can get some guidance with outside engineers. We can use our own engineers. That is not a problem. I mean, since we already have a contract with them, but I have always suggested to councils to do an RFQ just so that we're out there to everybody and we're not showing favoritism or anything else. And all it is just requesting the qualifications, seeing if they've done it, what ideas they have, what they can bring to the table to help us in rectifying this violation.
So Larry, that water is post-processed wastewater, correct?
Yes, it's been through the plant and now it's ready for reuse.
The new plant process, is that ready to be, the effluent from the new plant, is that ready to be released to the river?
The new plant is up and we can meet some of the parameters, but we want to run it. I mean, we're still in the testing phase. We are working on the new side.
Okay.
But we want to make sure that all the equipment's up and everything running right so we can meet the parameters consistently.
Because if we drain the ponds, we're going to have to do something with that effluent.
We
don't have to go straight to the river.
And we're going to have to talk to TCQ and BMA because we're going to have to get permits, temporary permits. I mean, if you take it to the river, we're going to stop it also if we want to keep those retention ponds. And that's going to be my recommendation because that's a future asset. It's a future revenue source for the city of Castroville. And I don't want to just throw that revenue source away without knowing the pros and cons. I mean, ultimately, it may be too expensive, but I'm not familiar enough with your city yet to know what kind of developers want to come in, what they're looking for. But just from my experience in other cities that recycle the water, and when I mean recycle, turning it into H2O, which we don't do here. So all we do is chlorinate it and it goes to the water. We would have to dechlorinate it and make it into potable water, drinking water, not potable water, but drinking water.
Okay. Paul, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I was, Linda, you don't know this, but the Parks Board has been working on a project, and Larry, you know about it, to do a, what is it called, botanical garden, water, basically ponds that would polish the water, the effluents a little bit more and probably make them more palatable to TCEQ. Obviously, that would be affected by whatever happens at these tanks, but they were addressing, the engineers that are working on that were addressing the spillway. And that might be a resource that we tap into a little bit. I don't know how much they've done on it. They've only had the data for a couple months. The other thing is I have a client that I've done some work for who's a pond expert. He builds large ponds on ranches. I don't know if he does work on municipal effluents or on municipal projects, but I can certainly forward that information to you and let you speak with him. So.
You know, one of the things they said in the violation about our ponds is that we also can't find any engineering drawings or any schematics of how the ponds were built. And we've looked everywhere, upstairs, in all our files, everywhere. We cannot find an engineering design of how these ponds were built.
We don't even know when they were manufactured, when they were built? No timeline?
No, the oldest plans we have, the whole plan is 1988, and they show the ponds already exist.
Jesse?
So how long have we known we need to remove trees?
How long have we known?
Yeah, how long has Castroville known the TCEQ said get the trees off there?
Well, it hasn't been on any violations.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking how long have we known we need to get rid of those trees? Because looking at these trees, they didn't get that big in 6 months.
I'd say, I can't say for sure. I've only been here since January 15, but I'm sure it was 4 or 5 years before that.
So we've known basically 10 years that we need to get rid of these trees, and we've let them grow up.
And he said that's why we got hit with the fines, is because of the repeat violations.
Why? I'm not asking you, I'm asking Larry, why have we not gotten rid of the trees 5 to 10 years ago? I'm sorry, I'm direct. I know you haven't, I'm sorry, just say it.
I know you haven't been here, that's why I'm asking him, why have we not addressed
I was
this?
here back and I can address it, and by the time I got here, they were already so big and hanging over that there was no way my staff could get in there and do this.
But we've known about it, and now we're coming down to, how long, 60 days?
Yes.
And so in 60 days, what's our fine going to be looking at, 100,000 or where?
Well, it already is.
How do you know what it's going to be then?
Well, the fine's already in violation.
Well,
I believe
what-
it's for the trees.
86,000.
So we're pushing 100,000.
But it's all broke down. And the trees themselves, I didn't bring that with me. Yeah, I might have it, hold on. And it's all broke down by violation.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of stuff out there that's been needing to be done that just hadn't gotten.
The total of all of them on that, I think, is 80-something thousand fines. You know, I understand your frustration. It's not going to do any good to go over history or anything. We have to fix it.
I'm agreeable with that. I just,
I don't want to go, and I personally do not want to go out with an RFQ. We hired a city engineer to do this stuff for us. There's just not enough time to go out on an RFQ for a specific engineering services. I believe that we should talk to Michael and see if they have someone that on staff that can take care of this.
The city engineer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I know it's frustrating, but we just got to fix it. I believe the answer is to talk to Michael Persine, our city engineer, and see what our options are to take care of this. If he doesn't have anybody on staff, I mean, flip a coin. I don't know where you go.
Well, Friesen Nichols, that's who I've been talking to, because they've contracted with the city to do the wastewater plant. So I think that would be a logical choice as well, since we already have a relationship with them. We can.
Yeah.
My recommendation for the RFQ is only because that's what most cities do when when it's not in the scope of services. And Friesen Nichols, nor our city engineers, have that scope of services. So the RFQ that I would write would be specifically for the scope in whichever direction that the council.
So we have 60 days from when?
Well, really last week when I talked to them.
So we're down.
It was last Monday.
So now we're down closer to 50 days.
Right.
And how long does it take? How long do you usually take an engineer once they come out and look at it to give a plan that you'll be able to submit?
And I don't know that they're actually going to come out and look at it, because what
I'm getting at is, how long is it going to take an engineering firm to get you some information that you can go to TCEQ and say, hey, we're working on it?
they can come out, Friesen Nichols, I don't know about the city engineer, but I can actually get with them tomorrow and say, hey, let's go out this week, and they would do it.
Because I don't think we want to get to it down to within like 10 days, and, you know, I'd like to see this, I'd like to see you getting some feedback as to where we are with them a lot sooner than 50 or 60 days, because they're going to say,
I intend to do that.
that's what I'm saying, they're going to, if you get down there, they're going to say you didn't get this, and you still only got 10 days to get it. So I think whatever we do, Mr. Mayor, I think we need, I'm sorry, excuse me.
I'm sorry, standard operating procedure, so, yeah.
I think we need to get on this before we get caught short on time.
I agree with you. Todd, you had something?
Yeah, I agree. You don't need to mess around with it, but
we have a city engineer. I don't think you're listening to me. I said, you know, we want to use the city, and you keep going back to the other firm.
Oh, only because they designed the...
I don't care. Listen to the direction we're giving you. We have a city engineer. We have rates established. I think that we should, you know, at least talk to them and see if they have somebody that can do this type of specific engineering services for us. If not, then we'll look at another option. But we've got to find out what we have to do and how much it's going to cost. And Michael is very responsive to our needs, and he does an excellent job. I believe they have somebody that would do it. Yeah.
I believe they do too, but just for time's sake, if they,
for some reason don't, we can contact K-Freeze at the second to move things along.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I said it backwards.
Herb, did you have
Freeze and
something?
Nichols.
I got a couple of questions. And it's more than, we got the next 4 items on the agenda are all really the same thing.
Yes.
We're all talking about the same basic problem. So I'd like to say a couple of things that may apply to more than just this agenda item. But the biggest concern I have is, looks like we've lost a lot of information in the transition. The previous city administrator was doing a lot of work on a bed and bank permit. And the bed and bank permit, as she explained it to me, was absolutely necessary before we put the first drop of water into the river. The reason being, if we set a precedence and start putting water into the river and we don't have this permit, we can never in the future get paid for that water. Conversely, if we get the permit first, we can dump the water in the river and we can sell it down the river to somebody for a profit. The permit is essential to do that. Now, I can't address any of the stuff you're talking about taking the water out of the river, but I think it's clear we have to empty the ponds to remove the trees. So we better try to get things in order. We don't want to lose the water, and we don't want to lose our opportunity in the future to get paid for the water by dumping it too early. So we need to research and get the answers about that. Second point. The worst thing you can do is issue an RFQ when you don't know what you want. Because the people are going to invent what you want, and they're going to try to sell you everything that maybe you don't need. Not casting dispersions on anybody, it's just a trend. So my point is, we better figure out what do we want before we start going out asking engineers to give us quotes. Now, we're not the only city in Texas, a small city, under 5,000, that has a waste treatment plant. Every city of our size has a similar plant of some kind. Maybe we ought to consider a very impromptu, very quick citizens committee, maybe 2 citizens, a council member, and a member from the PW staff, to go and visit a couple of similar cities and learn what they did. Surely they all have a problem with trees. They're going to grow everywhere if you've got birds. And we got to get this in perspective before we just start saying we got to go and get somebody working. Maybe we need to time phase it. We need to lay out a reasonable plan that tackles the first problems that are biggest and most time pressing. And maybe we time phase our plan. And I feel fairly sure that TCEQ will work with us.
Oh, yes.
I know they don't expect us to snap our fingers and solve this problem that's taken 15 or 20 years to create in one 10-week period. So I'd just like to get a little clearer understanding before we start issuing RFQs and start committing to pay money. And now, step back for just another minute, and this applies to the next 3 items as well. We've been talking about this for over a month and a half in some form or another. And we've never, speaking for myself, I have never heard from the staff a comprehensive approach to how we're going to deal with these 14 violations and 9 additional issues. I've gone through and I've spent a great deal of time reading everything you wrote, Larry, and it's very helpful. It's very helpful to understand the problem. But what I don't see is I don't see what you're doing to attain the solution. The only thing I see is we're writing an SOP, and we're going to submit that, which was supposed to be due next week, and I know you got a delay, but I've still never seen any SOP that talks about any of these issues. And there's a lot of things in here that I don't believe we've got money to do. And we asked you that last time, and you addressed the specific issues of the chlorine building and the pavement, and the council gave you the money to do that. I asked the question, are we going to have to come back and lay out more money for all the rest of them? And your response, I'm paraphrasing, but you said, we've got the signs, we got the fencing, we're under control there, but you never said, but we don't have any solution for the other 14. And I just want to get it on record, we need to know what the big picture is, because this is going to cost a lot of money. And I mean, the dam, the things you've just discussed, it's going to cost money, but these other items are going to cost money too, it looks like. So we'd like to see the whole picture. Let's get the whole bloody truth out on the table, and let's understand how much time we have to fix it, and what has to be fixed first, and then we can try to put together a reasonable approach and a reasonable schedule, and we can spend the money in an efficient fashion and not panic and just start spending it willy-nilly. I'm very supportive of all that you're doing. Please don't misunderstand. I'm not criticizing. I know you inherited this. It's been here a long time, but we have to fix it.
And honestly, we need to update your report because several of these violations have been handled. We have submitted boxes of reams of paper. We have handled a lot of these, so we need to get your full breakdown of what we've sent, what we've already given them. And you know where we are. Really, about the only things left with the money, and I guess I should have mentioned the SAP was the chlorine building. The chlorine building is built into the contract of the wastewater treatment plant. The only cost we have is whatever it's going to cost us with trees, and then the other item we have on the agenda, not with the skate.
And we never got a response. The last time you spoke to us, you still didn't have a decision on the quality of the conduit going from the waste plant down to the lift station.
That's all been done.
And you didn't have an answer on whether the sludge was, the sludge pit was adequate. You still had to inspect it. Are those now not issues any longer?
The line to the down to the generation or the lift station's done. We got that out, pulled it out. We had no trouble getting anything out. We cleaned it out and pulled all the new line.
Okay.
Had no trouble.
So that's in the budget and it's taken care
It's all
of.
taken care of. It was all part of the original budget for the treatment plant.
Great.
The only thing we have left is there will be some expense because we do have to clean out the old pit or the old irrigation basin where all the sludge is. I mean, that was always part of the city to do that. From what I've put together so far, that cost is not astronomical. It's a cost. If I'm going to have to guess, which I am at the moment, I would say we're talking maybe $10,000.
This question about the stripped trees that you mentioned, I think it's a great idea. Do we know if it's been done anywhere? Is it acceptable, or is it just something we have to go and investigate?
That was my recommendation to the engineers when I talked. I got the name from Larry to call Freese and Nichols because they are the ones that are working on our treatment plant, the violations on the treatment plant, so that's why I called them. And they said they had heard of that, but they have never seen it actually done. I read it just in some of my readings from the past job that I had with the previous city. But we didn't have in that previous city trees around the wastewater treatment plant the way we have here. So that's the issue. But I will say one thing, that we don't have, as long as TCQ will be fine with us as long as they see that we're doing something by litters. So in order to, we may have a 60-day deadline, but that doesn't mean we have to have the job done. What they want is to see action.
So interim report
to them, and I'm going to be submitting a preliminary, you all will not see it, but we're going to do a preliminary SOP. And I'm going to have it to them on June 30th. It's not the final. All I want to know is if we're in the right direction, because I want to show them that we're doing something. So I am putting that together right now, and the last 2 days I haven't even been able to type on it, but I plan on doing that tomorrow, and I'm waiting for, what's his name, for Freese and Nichols? Cody. Cody is going to get me some information as well, and we'll consolidate what I have versus what Cody has, and I'm just going to put a generic thing out there just to send it to TCQ to see whether we're on the right page. I mean, I may be out in left field.
I just have-
I'm creating this, I've never created.
Yeah, I just have one other comment I'd like to make, and then I'll stop talking. On the SOP, I think it needs to be very detailed. It needs to be something that a new manager who comes into the city staff can pick up and read and be up to speed on what's to be done. And I think there needs to be something in the SOP very detailed about recording requirements, because we get repeatedly chastised in this for numerous different reporting violations. All that should be handled in the SOP, and we should have some kind of a master calendar in the city where all these reports are in there so that the city administrator and everybody in the staff is aware these reports are due on these dates and that we don't forget about them. Thank you very much.
And the SOP, like I said, we need to have, TCQ cannot give us an SOP to go by. I went onto their website, I downloaded it's right there on the website, the regulations on how to create your own SOP. That's what I'm doing. So I'm actually went to TCQ and I'm using that. But again, I've never written one, we've never had one. Most cities I've been to don't have one.
I've written hundreds of them.
Pardon me?
I've written hundreds of them in the military. They're very easy to write if you just put your mind to it.
Yes, and that's what I'm doing.
Do what makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing, and it's going to be very detailed. As a matter of fact, one of the operators at the wastewater treatment plant did give us a detailed listing of what he did. That's going to go in there, but it's not going to be done by June 30th. I mean, I've only been here a week and 2 days.
I'm going to make one comment about the June 30th date. You've all seen the notes that I've written and the dates we're going to have the SOP. Based on the TCQ regulations that we had to have an SOP by 30 days after completion date. The original completion date of the plant was June 1st. That was approved by a change order to council to August. I did talk to Mr. Darling, and I did send him a letter asking if he could move the date. And his answer, and I'm paraphrasing, was that we don't need to because there won't be an order issued for at least 6 months. But let us know if you need something to move. So we're still we're going to go ahead and try and meet the date that I put in the original letter.
Right, just to show them we're trying. And the reason why we're doing that is to make them realize that we are trying to do something to correct the violation, so hopefully we can get out of the fines, or at least partial. I mean, and that's not going to be up to Mr. Darling, that's got to be out of legal. So it's a whole other ballgame, but Mr. Darling's got to see what our plan of action is.
Immediately after we appealed the legal, I did what's called a CSAP, which is compliance SCP. I did one the day after, just a preliminary one, just so I could get on their books, and they know we were going to do this. They came back to me with recommendations exactly what they wanted to see from me, what they wanted me to address, and so I think it was 5 days later, I got the more detailed one and sent it to them. They have this in their hand. I have not heard back from them, but they do have this in their hand.
And I'm sorry, what did you call that? I didn't.
CSAP.
CSAP?
Which stands for?
CSCP.
Acronym, what's that mean?
I know the first is C stands for compliance.
And the P stands for plan.
Still trying to figure out SOP.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sherhart.
In relation to the trees on the pond, are they just on the water side of the pond?
No, if you look on that video, you see the roads. If you do the 20 foot, on the other side of those roads, that's where the dam starts going down.
So they're on the dry side as well?
Right. And so when you get to 20 foot out there, we're on the face of the dam, removing some stuff.
Okay, we need to give them some direction. I believe that we need to find out what we need to do to fix it. And in order to do that, you need to talk to the city engineer. This is, I mean, we have rates that we've negotiated with this firm, and they're our city engineer.
They're on retainer?
Well, they have the contract for our engineering services. I think
That would be the most inexpensive way?
It's got to be.
We got to find out what we have to do.
Right.
And have them, have us give us a resolution to take care of this, whatever it is, and have it ready for the next council meeting.
I mean, is an arborist something that would
No. It's because of the root systems into the dam. We got to figure out how to take care of it.
Well, an arborist, the reason I say arborist is because a lot of them trees are willows.
Are they?
That I see, the ones on the water side for sure, and I know they're fed off that pond, and they may be shallow rooted because of that. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out.
Use an arborist to help us.
I think that's what the city engineer.
The engineer.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
But we might have to help him initiate that, but I'm just...
I think we need to, I agree. If start off with our engineer, and if they can't handle it, then we have to go then we'll have to go somewhere else. But we're already familiar with them, we know their rates. And, you know, they should give us an honest appraisal whether they can help us or not.
At least if we're going out for an engineer, we're getting a solution to the issue to take care of it. I think that TCEQ, as long as we're doing something, they're going to be fine with us.
I would have to agree.
Okay, so as everybody is in agreement, that's what we'll do. Let them get with Mike Persine and see what we have to do to fix this.
At least start there, right?
Yep.
And he can seek out what expert advice he needs.
Is it going to be too late? No, it won't be. We'll be good. We don't have a meeting the first part of July, it's the second.
Do you want them also to look at the spillway as well and give that as a separate?
Is that written up? Have we written up?
Yeah, we're not in violation of that yet.
But he said it is something that they are going to...
It's a concern.
It's their concern. So in other words, they're telling us now, and if we don't do anything and show them what we're going to do, plan it, we will get written up.
Well, that 6 foot deep rill is right below the spillway, so it's eventually going to be a problem.
Is our next meeting July 3rd?
No, it's the end of July, July 23rd, I think.
24th.
24th?
Really?
Yes. We don't have the first meeting in July.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move that we allow the staff to inform and request Freeze Engineering to...
I don't believe we have an action item on this.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we have direction. We'll contact Mike Persine tomorrow.
Yes, right. You know where we're going, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll contact Mike Persine
Good.
first thing in the morning.
All right, so let's move on to item number 10. And I guess these are all skated, these next two.
The next two are, I want to make one comment. When TCEQ inspected, they gave us violations for mainly, I don't know if I say Arconi and Riverside lift station. They said that, that they didn't have telemetry, they didn't have audio and visual alarm. They were a little off, and I sent pictures showing they were off. Arconi has audio and visual, it always has, we put it in panel there, it doesn't have telemetry. Riverside has telemetry and audio, but doesn't have visual. So what I would be putting telemetry in is in the Coney station. And we also have another station out in Country Village, but it does not have telemetry either. And I know the last time TCEQ kind of just scooted by it, but they know it's there. So to try to avoid a violation in the future, this money that we're asking for also includes that lift station to bring it up. So in other words, I'm doing one lift station that they want us to do, and then another one that is our lift station that needs to be done so we don't get wrote up for it in the future.
So the Country Village Station, and what was the other one?
Coney, right next to the...
Kenny Park.
Kenny Park.
Yeah, sorry, I said it wrong. There's a small lift station there.
You know where it is?
No.
It's on the north side of Kenny
It's
Park.
on the north side, right down by the river. Yeah, what's that guy?
It's
Ron Boyce?
Yeah, it's right in his driveway, right by his driveway.
Okay.
It's a very small lift station during most of the year. It does very, I mean, but it's certainly like 3 to 4
I think it only
houses.
takes care of 3 houses.
Yeah, but but when they have St. Louis Day, it runs constantly.
I can understand that one.
Can we talk about, in this action item, can we talk about the fact that we don't have any emergency power for SCADA monitoring? Is that a different issue we have to wait for?
I think we're talking about, yeah, the SCADA upgrade proposal, we can.
Oh, good. I think, I'd like to mention that if it's all right.
Okay.
I may be misinformed, and if I am, Larry, tell me, but my understanding is that we have a place in the Public Works office where you monitor all the SCADA equipped sites. And in there, you have everything you need to see the status, but it doesn't have any emergency power.
It has a very large battery backup that will last for an hour, hour and a half.
And what if we lose power for a day and a half?
There's nothing else besides that.
Do we need to do something on the council to enable you to get some limited emergency power into that area for that equipment and whatever cooling is necessary to keep it working for a prolonged period of time? If we have a tornado or something, we lose power for a week or 10 days, because we have to be able to monitor that stuff.
If you remember when the other building was there before the big flood, there was a generator for that building. We still have that generator, and we can have it gone through and make sure it still works. It's not big enough for the whole facility, but it would do what we need to do for SCADA. The problem with the existing building, I don't know if anybody remember, that was 4 separate construction units. So the electrical system is a little bit complicated. So I'd have to go with, find an electrician to tell us how much it would be just to hook the generator up, just to do the minimum that we need to do. Since we have 4 different, basically we have 4 different electrical systems, we have 4 different cooling systems, 4 different lighting systems.
What about the other end? Is there electric power, emergency power at the transmit end? And then what do you do for power out there? If we lose power, do all the transmitters stop transmitting?
Well, eventually. And
So what are we monitoring? We're not monitoring anything, it's not transmitting.
And another key secret, and we've been talking about this and trying to get, I think I have a little bit of money for the future to start buying generators for these lift stations in some of the offices.
What is SCADA acronym?
What does SCADA stand for?
I know the last part, and data acquisition, and the other one is, I need somebody to ask me.
Okay. Jesse, do you have anything?
No, Paul actually.
Okay,
In
Paul?
your backup, it tells you what what it stands for.
What's that?
Where is that?
On the information on the SCADA upgrade letter in here, for the 29,000, the bid, or the proposal?
Number 11. Yeah.
Supervisory.
Supervisory control and data acquisition.
Where do you see it?
I was going to say, Larry, if
Backup material.
that building is a composite of 4 different separate units, and I would imagine then that the circuitry per unit is separate, that it should simplify the matter of...
Except that we should all 4 on one service.
Right, but I mean, somewhere there's going to be a split to separate breaker boxes.
Fuses on the outside.
Right.
We need to, first thing we'll have to do is get the generator back out, because it's big enough, have it gone through, make sure it runs, make sure the generator...
So if it can be hooked to the one breaker box that supplies the power to that unit, then we should be good.
We did find out the other day that some of the lights are cross-connected, we didn't figure that out. Until there was a switch we didn't even know about.
This is all pertaining
Yeah,
to
we had some on,
sewer.
some off.
It's the monitoring system.
The sewer system.
Well, it has the wells too, water wells.
So you're saying we need to put telemetry on one of those, we need to put telemetry on one lift station and audio video on the other?
We have a big generator, the mobile one, that at number 3 well.
Okay.
That's where it sits, which will run number 3 well. And our main lift station, which is the one in Regional Park, is run from the generator system at the treatment plant. So that just leaves our smaller lift stations out there without any generation.
But we don't have any monitoring on that lift station at Regional Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's skated though.
Okay.
It does have monitoring.
All right. So this upgrades everything and gets current on everything for $29,000.
It brings Country Village back up, it brings one in Keene, and then we also have one lift station, if you ever notice on the north side of 90, there's a small lift station we have out there that has a telemetry in it. We will move all that telemetry, since that lift station will be abandoned and this east side lift station we're doing, that will be demolished, and we'll move that SCADA system to the new east side lift station, which has a backup generator also.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Can I have a motion to approve the proposal for the block design for an amount not to exceed $29,000 and approval of a budget amendment if necessary?
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are you guys clear? We're good? And I think we need to bring back something for emergency power for these units too.
I have some small ones,
Okay.
I'll see what I can, what we intended on doing and haven't, we are a member of, we have surplus stuff over to federal surplus.
Right.
Every once in a while, they have lots of good generators that haven't been really used at all, which would suit our purposes. So I've been watching to see if there's something shows up there that we can get purchased and do.
I mean, they're so inexpensive to buy. I know I have a system, automatic system that takes care of 2 houses. Anyways, good, thank you. Moving on to, I think we've covered everything for 10 and 11. Moving on to item number 12, report on the water facility TCEQ violations. Linda, you had some stuff?
That's what we do. Yeah,
I just, before you start on this, I just want to make some comments about this. I actually received 3 of these violations this month for the TCEQ. I know that Larry has told me that one of them was because the laboratory did not provide the information to...
We sent it and we received an email from them. So.
Right. But we just, and that was for the airport, right? But we got another one this week.
That's on the Confidence Consumer Report.
Okay.
And that's when we do a Confidence Consumer Report every year.
Okay.
And your violation, the ones they're talking about, the violations are actually 2 years old. So we get it.
Okay. It's just, you know, I don't want to use frustrated, but we are not taking care of our reporting in a timely manner. We're getting these notices constantly, and we have fines that are over $80,000 because we're not doing our job.
And we're in the crosshairs.
Yeah. If there's one thing that I would ask staff to do, and I think that Councilman Dyer had an excellent idea, and that is some type of master calendar that everybody can look at. I mean, in this day and time, I mean, how many use their calendar on their iPhone? I mean, you can't live without it anymore. I mean, it tells you everything that you're going to do. I would think that we ought to be able, as a city, to have some sort of master calendar that's electronically controlled, that we can ding somebody about this stuff, you know, that somebody has to report that it's being done. This is getting out of control. I mean, we're falling down. I'm sure you have reasons for all of it, but they're not good enough because we're not getting it done. You know, we have got to do a better job taking care of the water system in this city. I mean, we got to make sure that we're reporting stuff properly, and if we don't, I mean, we're in their crosshairs now, and we're going to get nailed every time we turn around. So with that, tell us what you got on it.
Mayor, I wanted to say, I have a master calendar that I keep up with over here for the different contracts we have in my records room.
But an electronic one.
Well, it's through my email, and of course it pops up, and then I keep a running
That's one of our
tab.
real problems, we can't share calendars.
Why?
Well, but I just let me interject. I've been working with IT to get that. That's one of the things I requested of her last week, because I would like that also, and so they're working to get that.
Okay. Please
a shared
handle
calendar.
it. Get it done. I mean, get us on a system where we can share information. I mean, we need. This is something we have the ability to do.
And the council should be able to see it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, we should have access to this stuff. This is so easy to do in this day and time. So what do you got to say about it? I mean, other than we're getting dinged and we're getting these reports, I mean, is it anything other than just we didn't do a better job?
No, we can do a better job, but some of this, I mean, you're going to get, I hate to say this about TCQ, but you're going to get dinged. I don't care what you do. They're going to find something. I don't think you're ever going to have a safe time when they come and inspect you, you don't get something.
Okay.
It's just the way they work.
And the fine happens only if you get dinged twice. So if we get dinged the first time, we correct it, it goes away.
Well, we got hammered. We didn't get dinged. We got hammered.
Well, you go on their website, I mean, we got hammered, but there's some other cities around us got hammered a whole lot worse.
You know, I asked. I asked our city attorney who works with multiple cities, and he told me this is the largest fine he has ever seen. That's what he told me. He told me this is the largest fine he's ever seen in any city. Oh, on their website? Yeah. Well, this is just his experience.
Well, it really doesn't matter. Frankly, I'm not concerned about other cities down the road. I'm concerned with our city, and yeah, San Antonio might have a $100,000 or $500,000 fine, but if you look at their budget, I'm not concerned with them anyway. But what I'm concerned with is here. You know, we can't handle too many $80,000 fines.
We can't handle this one.
Well, I'm trying to emphasize we can't handle. We're trying to get this one reduced, I know. And again, I agree, we really can't handle it. We're going to have to one way or another. But we surely do not need another one.
I think a calendar would help a whole bunch.
I don't like it. I mean, it's just almost budget time again. I don't
Good. I understand there's been some corrective actions on who's going to take care of this from now on.
Yes.
It's going to be you. Right. You're going to take care of it.
I'm going to be the one coming back in 2 weeks to the way it was.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Herb? Paul? Everybody good? Move on to item number 13, progress report on the 2018 City Street Program. I was happy to see when I went to Dairy Queen, there's a great big pile of rock out there behind on the city lot. A big pile.
He has been bringing in, he was supposed to come in and sign the contract today, but he got stuck on another job, but he has already brought in the aggregate. And based on some discussions I had with the mayor and with the contractor, we have changed the aggregate from a grade 4 to a grade 5, which is a little smaller rock, to make our residential
Give us a smoother street.
more smoother, more like a residential street.
Yeah.
We did talk about changing the emulsion, but he thinks if we don't get too many way over 100 degrees, we should be able to get away with that. He also agreed to do some, you notice there's a maintainer there today.
Yes, I did.
Yes, he's also agreed to help us get our streets back to 20 foot wide, in other words, straight to sides, get rid of that. And he's also agreed to help us with my staff assisting to level up some of the bad areas of the street where we have, like some of the streets, the sewer line is sunk and some of the bigger problems. And he's agreed to do all that with no increase in cost.
Isn't that great?
Tell me about the emulsion you were talking about.
Well, we got the CRS2, and he says sometimes when it gets significantly hot,
It's too thin?
leads to, So he talked about the AC, which I first spec, but he thinks as long as we watch our temperature and when we do it, we should be fine with the CRS2. That was specified.
My worst nightmare would be if in 6 months we drive them roads and there's nothing but loose gravel on the side.
Yeah.
That would be my worst nightmare.
They're supposed to sweep them off when they compact them.
But I mean, not sticking because we used too thin of an emulsion or whatever, or tar or whatever.
No, he's Mr. Clark, and he had his, will be the foreman, Alex, and we're very conscious of what we need and we'll be watching it. Because the price on it was the same. So whichever one we need to work the best, that's what we'll do.
Do we have a first street in mind?
No, I was hoping I'd see him today to sign the contract, and I could give you an update on what First Street and where we're gonna go. And
I would love to know the first street that gets work.
We'll watch it.
I'd like to just see it after it's done, yes, sir.
Good. It's taken a long time to get here.
Yes. I was disappointed that he couldn't come sign the contract this morning, but they've got other projects.
I hope we made a good decision.
We're good. We have a timetable, get it all finished at this point, if he can get over here? How long is it going to take to get this done once he gets there?
Yes, sir.
21 days.
21 days.
It was 14 on the original, but then we've asked him to grade the size.
Oh, that's why it's increased from 2 weeks, because of the grading?
I think that's a worthwhile.
The street's back to 20 foot.
Yep. Good deal. Anyone else have anything? No. Okay, thank you, Larry. Item number 14, discussion on the 2019 5-year fiscal forecast and City Council 2019 budget priorities. Jerry?
Yes, hello. So last council meeting, I was directed to come back with a basically a flat budget projection, which I did for the utility and the general fund. And by flat, this is no additional budget items like capital projects or equipment or anything like that, but including any known contracts, expenses, anything like that. So that is that. So the definition of flat was no additional items, but what we know is in here. And we've done some revenue projections and everything. So you have let's start with the general fund. You have a spreadsheet. Now let me caution that this will change tomorrow. I mean, this is a working document. And as we get more information, this document will change. This is to guide you. The goal today is to just give you a general idea of where we're going and where we think we're at this point, but for you to give us direction as to what you would like to see in this budget. We have provided you with the list that that council gave us last year. Now this is just a guide. You may decide that you don't want to do any of these items, all these items, something totally different. But this is just to let you give you some direction as to what they have discussed in the past. So that being said, if we look at the general fund, the line item that you are concerned with is down at the bottom where it says net revenues and expenses. As you see in the 2017-18 column, and that is I don't have the colored one, the 17-18 column, which is the gray, that was the budget. And we budgeted a negative fund, to use $400,000 of fund balance to offset some of those expenses that we have. And as you can see, looking at the what we estimate we're going to spend between now and the end of the year, we estimate basically not spending $300,000 of that, and that's the direct result of staff's, and yes, we will take the credit for this, staff's diligence in keeping the costs down, not spending money. It wasn't absolutely necessary in order to help offset that cost. However, that's not going to be sustainable. There are things that we have to purchase that we didn't, that we've put off, and be that as small as supplies up to police vehicles. I mean, we're going to have to do that. But none of those items are, well, office supplies are in this budget, but the capital items, as I said, are not included in this budget projection. So as you see, we estimate that we're going to only hit. And I say only, that's relative. That's $100,000 is a lot of money, but we're only going to hit fund balance by $113,000 as opposed to the $404,000. But if you look at the next column, which is the one that we're really addressing tonight, as far as next year's budget is concerned, unless something changes in the general fund, we're looking at a $215,000 hit to fund balance. Now, you can look at this in more than one way. You can look at it as, well, we didn't hit it for $400,000 this year, and so we're offsetting that deficit for another year, or we need to do something. We need to continue to work this budget. We need to do something to bring revenue in or cut costs more to bring that down. I would rather see that as a zero, flat. Ultimately, I'd like to see adding some money to general fund, because we're going to get into an issue with our finding that 90-day fund balance reserve. However, with things being as they are, zero would be, I'd be happy with. We will continue to work that, but it's going to be difficult without any kind of revenue influx. This does include the revenues that we know at this point, sales tax and ad valorem tax, and we will probably come up with some scenarios. We need some direction from council as to how you feel about revenues and what you want to do about that, and also expenses. But what I would like is for that not to deter you from telling us what you need. I mean, because we do have some very urgent, I wouldn't say, I don't know, dire or whatever needs for the city that we'll need your direction. So give us an opportunity, tell us what you want, and help us to prioritize them, and then we'll try to incorporate some of these into the budget and make adjustments in order to make those happen, and try to make a palatable. Moving on to future years, as you see, unless we do something, that trend's just going to continue. It's basically when doing this budget, like I said, I put the known, what we knew in here. Those are hard numbers, and basically everything else, which I didn't know, I put a cost of living increase. Basically, I went with a CPI, but that CPI estimate is 2%. Now, I believe that probably is okay, because as you go through that, not everything is going to go up 2%. Some things are going to remain flat. Some things are going to go up higher. But I am a little bit concerned that might be a little low if indeed our CPI does increase 3.5% to 4%. But at this point, we feel like this is the best estimate that we can come up with, how our fund balance is going to be at the end, or if nothing changes. So like I said, it's basically nothing changes. It's just the same deficit every year.
So this budget is just, all this is a zero-based budget. The only thing that's been added in there is $600,000 for streets.
Yes, sir.
That's it?
That's it, and yes.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Some of the things that critically come to mind for me that we need to look at is the River Bluff electric system. It's failed.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Since River Bluff, the electric system, that's going to be the utility fund.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go over the utility fund real quick, and then we can tell us whatever, and we'll slot it into the right fund. Because if you look at the utility fund, it does look better than the general fund. Now, let me say the general fund, the reason that this is part of the reason why we're showing as a deficit is that the cost of for the city to provide services, that was not increased. And I would ask that the council consider basically a cost of living increase to that amount also, and that'll help with the general fund side. The utility fund, if you look at it, this year we budgeted revenues to receive, and that's in the gray, of approximately $530,000. However, we estimate that revenue over expenses is only going to be $164,000. That's a direct result of of not increasing the rates last year, of leaving them the same. We are scheduled to increase our fund balance, but that was that's intentional. We're trying to increase that fund balance in order to pay future debt. However, when we look at the proposed budget at this time, we show a slight increase also. And then going out to future years, we do show an increase to fund balance that will help offset that. Keep in mind, I do remind you, this is no capital or equipment, or we're going to be seeing, if we don't replace our equipment, we're going to be seeing higher repair costs and all those things, maintenance costs and the whole thing. When we get to 2023, that big jump is because we're paying off a portion of our debt in that year. So that's what that is. So, but this, like I said, we're going to continue to look at revenues. We need to. This was done revenue projection as of the end of April, and so we still have 4 months in the year, our hottest part of the year, which could increase the revenues. It could decrease the revenues. So those numbers will change. But with that being said, I still want to know what y'all want, so we can try to do the best we can to make that happen.
If we need to decide what projects are important, what are necessities, if we're going to talk the utility fund first, is River Bluff electrical system the number one thing that on the electric grid that has to be looked at?
As it stands right now, yes, because it's all very transformers all crooked, it's where we have a whole lot of problems.
And it fails continually.
We had that one outage that went, we looked for it for almost a day and a half.
Yeah, I remember. Now, you were going to get some of those parks and start doing some of that ourselves. Did that happen?
We are some smaller areas, we've been doing something.
We've done some.
We can't change our lines unless we trench and do all the stuff we do, but we can do everything.
Jerry, if we talked about some of these projects, the ones that come to mind to me are River Bluff underground utility system, the electric. I know we got to do an animal control facility. We got to get rid of that one that's at the sewer plant. I know that's got to be done. I know that we got to do an east side water revamp. We got to do some type of looping. We've got to do a water tower. I think that's going to be taken care of in now that the well is gone at Public Works, we're going to have to drill a new well. I believe that some of the costs that I've been told today by Linda was somewhere around $700,000 to drill a new well. We're going to need to, these are some of the things we're going to have to look at this year. Now, some of these capital improvement projects, some that we can do, we had talked about, and I may use the wrong term, but we have certificate of obligations that are retiring in 5 years. And that I was told that we could go out, we could reissue those, wrap around them, and we could borrow somewhere between $2.5 to $3 million and not increase our debt service, we would still be paying the same amount, but we could reissue this debt and not increase our debt service. Now, whether or not you want to do that, that's a decision you guys got to make. I don't like more debt. I like what we're doing is paying as we go, but you've got some big ticket items that have been pushed down the road and haven't been taken care of that we're going to have to fix. I don't know what this ponding thing is going to cost, but I think it's going to scare you when it comes in. But so that's an option we have. Am I correct that we could, reissue that debt? We could do a wrap around that?
I need to look into that, but that's definitely an option to look into, certainly.
Now, I did talk to our bond attorney that does our finance, and he said it's very easy to do. It's not something, and in keeping our debt service the same and not increasing our debt service, I like that idea better than trying to pile more debt on and more debt service if we have to, but I think that should be as a last resort. Larry, you gave me some numbers one time about that River Bluff electric system, what that was. What kind of money was that to do that? Get your best guess.
My best guess now, between 2.5 and 3 million to do completely River Bluff.
Yeah. Could that be done in phases? Is there?
Yeah, remember the number we had before was only one phase. The 2.5 to 3 is all 3 phases of River Bluff.
Okay. I'm not coming to mind with any other critical things. I know that seeing these electric systems fail, and I think that Country Village is right behind us on this. That one's failed once last year. They've had a burnout.
We talked about Athens Street last meeting.
Yeah.
That's
Where do you
another
think that priority is?
big ticket item.
Yeah. Where do you think that is compared to electric systems right now? It's the bottom of the list.
Depending on who you're talking to.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But that's something that's going to be down the road. I mean, it's going to take time.
Absolutely, yeah.
But these electrical...
Oh, yeah. That's affecting
If you guys were
everybody.
here and saw what they went through last time this went down, it was not a pretty sight. I mean, you got a wire burned out underground, and you go and you look at your, I think, transformer boxes? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
These things are 50% below the ground, and they're up like this, and I mean, they're just failing. They're dropping into the ground, and they pull the wires off as they go down into the ground.
And the difficulty of River Bluff, unlike Country Village, is everything is in the back, almost all is in the backyard. Inside fences, inside construction.
Country Village is the same way.
Some of them, there is some parts that set back in the back, but we can get to it.
So
I don't see as big of an issue at Country Village.
you don't see it being an issue?
Oh, in Country Village.
It's still direct buried, and we're convinced they have some trouble with it.
What are some of
Buried
the...
in black dirt, whereas River Bluff, it's got nothing but flint rock.
That's why we have trouble with that. Not only with electric, we have trouble with their water and sewer.
Yeah, there was no sand put in.
Well, that and most of that area is fill material.
Right. So, in my opinion, what I would do is, I think that we should leave it as a zero-based budget with the streets in there and figure out, wait until we know what it's going to cost us for this
Well,
retention bond.
I'm anticipating, Jerry, that these revenue estimates are very conservative. And that we're not pushing the envelope on those.
No.
And that does not take into consideration any new business development or anything else that may or may not appear.
That's correct.
So, if we can keep it as close to the belt here as possible, then any increases in revenue become funds that we can apply towards emergency projects and long-term projects in the future.
Does this assume that we make the changes that we discussed at the last meeting about restructuring the rates between electric, water, and sewer?
We haven't done that yet. That's something we're going to have to do.
That makes a huge difference in the amount.
Yeah, so our direction was to not change it, bring something to you with no changes, and that's the next step.
So that was recommended to be implemented in October this year.
If we wanted to do that.
Yes. But we still need our tax rate. We won't have that till when?
Well, I can't recall when they give this preliminary numbers, but they'll, it's in July sometime. That's the part of the difficulty and why everything is so squished with budget process and government, because everything, we're at the mercy of getting those numbers.
And the legal publications kind of throw us off.
Yeah. But that's the next step, to incorporate that and bring you a proposal. This projection here, so tomorrow, the next step will be another meeting with the departments and discuss their needs, their additional needs, be personnel, equipment, whatever it is they say, and see if we can, come up with that, and then incorporate your wishes into this and see what happens, and bring it back to you next time so that we can start those discussions. Just an ongoing.
So really, we can't, other than to say, let's keep this as close to zero as possible, we really can't make any decisions tonight.
No, and
But we got to give them some direction.
Yeah.
I mean, but the big ticket item now looks like this pond at the sewer plant. So we can't.
Then we have no idea what that's going to cost.
No.
And the well.
And the well.
Right.
But that's got to be a priority, the well.
Right.
Something that's interesting is with this well going down at Public Works, this is going to change the whole issue with water supply within the city. I mean, even with the development out there. So we're going to have that well must go across, because the smell was in Country Village is where they started smelling that. So
Yeah, because I think it had more of a direct shot than the other ones.
yeah, so I mean, this supplies the east side. We had a conversation about this today, just because we're working on some of that stuff, and it may be that we drill another well on the east side and incorporate that into the water tower for the development we're working with out there. That may be the place for it. That may be the place that we put it.
We don't have any other options with the well at Public Works.
It's done. It's rotted casing. We repaired it once, and their recommendation is to shut it down.
Abandon it. Apparently,
seal it.
We rely on it.
No.
To the road.
It's lived its age. They're going to make
That's
this.
another thing council probably needs to think about. Well one was over 70 years old.
70?
70 years old.
Well two is about 50-some years old. And well three is around 40. So our wells are getting up there.
So, yeah, so they're all old. I mean, so these are big ticket items that have come up that we weren't planning on. When we were talking about Athens Street drainage, none of these items were on the picture. So we got probably it's going to be $700,000-$800,000 well that we're going to have to do. We've got the wastewater treatment plant pond that is, who knows?
How do I do this?
I mean, so I believe that we just need to leave it as a zero-based budget. I do want to leave the streets in at 600. Let's finish the streets next year. The people in Castroville have waited this too long. We can't put them on the back burner. We'll have every street in Castroville, with something done to it with this.
In a couple of years. In a couple of years.
Yeah, they'll be here.
Yeah, this year, next year.
More than one.
Huh?
I think it'll take a couple longer to get everything done. But I think we keep that money there.
I do too. Let's not stop, we can do it. We can keep that in there. But
we need to look.
These are things that you guys need to be thinking about. We got a well, we got a water tower to do out there. Now, I believe that we can get that handled in a development agreement to, get a lot of that taken care of. But we still have the looping. We have an engineering study out there to loop those systems and find out what we have to do with those.
A number of years ago, there was discussion with the Decock family about that well that's up Jaggy Lane.
Yeah, but their irrigation wells are not public wells. I was told it's as expensive to change them over as it is to drill a new one.
I see.
That's what I was told. It was from Luana Buckner from Edwards Aqua.
Irrigation wells are screened. The human consumption wells are welded. They have cement casing.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not realize there was a difference.
I'll bet Phil can answer that question.
It costs you twice as much converted as it would to build a new one.
Wow. Okay. That's why they didn't pursue it.
That's what information I was given.
Yeah.
So, we've got some curveballs that are thrown at us, but I think we just need to wait. And we have some borrowing capacity. I hate to use that term, but we won't increase our debt service. Yes, but we won't. The big thing is the income isn't going to go up with it. We have to work within our means, and we are at bare.
We're actually slowly digging a hole from the numbers I see. So,
can I make a comment? I think we're making a mistake if we get all of our focus on a flat budget. I think we have an obligation to look at an unconstrained budget, put it together so we understand what it would cost to do these things that we feel are important to the city, even though we know we can't do them. We need to know what they are. And then as we build the budget, as we get closer to decision time, and we make decisions about tax rates, utility rates, revenue flows, we make adjustments, and we find the best place to settle. And we have an obligation to the citizens to give them services. And a lot of citizens have come to me already and said, this idea of cutting the budget and not spending any money is wonderful for some people, but you owe us services. And we expect to pay taxes for them. We expect to pay for these services. We don't expect them for free. And I think there's a large part of the city that would be in play. And I think we're doing a disservice if we only look at the lowest cost budget. Because then we're going to be in a panic at the end of how do we address citizens' comments when we have public hearings. And they say you're not providing the services that we elected you to provide.
What services are we not providing?
Well, I'm talking about capital projects.
That's not a service.
Well, it is when the voters are talking about it, when you're talking about the budget. If it's not in the budget, they're not getting it.
I disagree.
Okay. I can accept that, but I think my caution is let's not get fixated on the flat zero budget. Let's look at a range of budgets, and as we get closer and learn more about what money we think we have or we can have, we can maybe make adjustments to try to make the budget better.
So what you're basically saying is that you want to raise utility rates 25%.
I'm not saying that at all.
Well, that's what it takes.
I'm saying that I'm not opposed
You're not opposed
to raising utility rates or raising property taxes if we're getting essential services for it. I want that water tower over there as bad as you do, but it isn't going to be free.
No. But
and if the city wants that water tower, they're going to have to pay for it.
No, they aren't.
Okay.
The developer's
Maybe you can
going to
get a
pay
developer to do it.
Absolutely.
I just would like to throw that caution on the table.
That's okay. I appreciate it.
I don't know that it's a bad idea to see what it would cost. I mean, if we want to look at that as an alternative view of it, I don't know how much work that throws on Jerry at this point, but to
What it would cost for all these items?
to just show us an unconstrained budget, just something that would put all of these projects or some of these projects online for the next year or 2 years.
So, from what I understand, we are looking at River Bluff, the Animal Control Facility, the looping, the water well, the tower, and Athens Street drainage. Those are the ones that we.
Yeah, that's too much. That's double. That's gonna double our.
They're not talking about unconstrained budget.
Yeah.
Looking at an unconstrained budget is kind of basically a waste of time. I agree that we need to know how much this stuff is going to cost us, but to put together 2 or 3 different budgets, knowing that we can't afford an unconstrained one, I think that's just kind of a waste of time. But I do agree that we do need to know what we're looking at.
Well, these items that the council has mentioned tonight, I don't see any reason why we just can't figure out how much they'll cost. We know they won't go into we know what they cost, and then we'll talk to our financial advisors and Clay and see if, what their suggestions are and what they think our debt service would be if we did that, and then we can.
I'd just like to be informed.
Really. At least if you look at that, then you can prioritize your capital improvement plans. That's one thing that will come out of it that's good for all of us. We can prioritize what's most important, what's second most important, and what it's going to cost, and then we can phase it. Maybe we have to phase it over multiple years. As we get closer to budget close time, we have to make decisions. And we don't know, as you say, we don't know what the taxes are going to be yet. We haven't got those numbers. When we get them, and then we deal with it. But I just hate to get fixated on one narrow course of action that kind of pushes everything else off the table. I'd like to have more items on the table as we go down the road.
I agree with both Councilman Byer and Councilman Dyer. I feel like it won't hurt us to get these numbers for these items. However, an unconstrained budget to me means that we, all those items that we need, and one of the things that some of the citizens say we need or have to have just, barbecue pits fixed. Those would be items that I would put into an unconstrained budget. But I know that they would come out, and I think it's an exercise that, honestly, we just don't have time to do that. But we do have time to get a handle on these major projects and get a plan. We have to. These are, in my mind, these are items that have to be done. Eventually, we need a plan to do them. Whether we can do them this year or not, who knows, but we do need a plan.
Barbecue pits at the regional park? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh.
No, it's just an example. Yeah. If you look in your list, and that's just one that comes to mind of the items on the list that were put as an item last year.
What about the water and sewer presentation that we heard last meeting?
So that is probably what we will do is we'll have two versions. One kind of like this with updated numbers. Hopefully we're going to have an influx of a lot of money because it's hot and we're getting we're going to get in money. We'll have this one, and then I'll have another one that'll incorporate those rates. Larry's already working to get to incorporate those rates into what we have to get me some numbers to help me get there. So we'll have two versions for you to look at, and it'll basically be the version with the increasing the rates. Now remember, it's increasing the water and sewer rates, sewer more than water, and decreasing electric to help mitigate the impact to the citizens. And then possibly even at that time, depending on what number we have, we might even throw in there, well, that's the utility fund. When you go to the general fund, maybe a proposal with the new tax rates. If that's agreeable to council, that's what we'll aim to do.
Anything else? We good?
I'm great.
Okay. No other questions? No. Can motion to adjourn. 8:16 p.m.
Thank you.